New York in the 1800s was a city pulled in opposite directions. It was ambition and desperation sharing the same streets, a place where wealth announced itself in marble facades while poverty crowded into narrow alleys just blocks away. This was not yet the city of towering steel and electric light, but something rawer, louder, and more uncertain, a metropolis learning how to become modern. By the middle of the century, New York had exploded in size. Waves of immigrants poured through its ports, carrying hope, hunger, and little else. The population multiplied at a staggering pace, transforming what had once been a modest colonial town into the beating heart of American commerce. The city felt unfinished, always under construction, always arguing with itself about what it wanted to be. Today, with the help of advanced reconstruction techniques and historical records, we can begin to visualize this turbulent era with new clarity. Old engravings, paintings, and early photographs allow us to rebuild the streets, the buildings, and the people who shaped the city's identity. Through these fragments, we step back nearly 2 centuries to experience New York as its residents once did. Before subways, before skyscrapers, before the skyline learned how to scrape the clouds. Imagine a bird's-eye view of Lower Manhattan in the early 1800s. The island tapers southward into the harbor, its shoreline crowded with wooden piers reaching into dark, restless water. The East River and the Hudson are alive with movement. Sailing ships from Europe, coastal traders from New England, ferries packed with workers, and barges hauling cargo that fueled the city's growth. This was New York's bloodstream. Everything arrived by water, and everything depended on it. Rising above the low rooftops is Trinity Church, its spire dominating the skyline, like a declaration of permanence. In a city that burned, rebuilt, and reinvented itself repeatedly, this church stood as a landmark of stability. Nearby, counting houses and trading firms clustered tightly together, forming the early foundations of what would become Wall Street. Deals were struck with handshakes and quill pens, fortunes made and lost before lunchtime. The streets below tell a different story. They are narrow, uneven, and loud. Horse-drawn carts rattle over cobblestones. Vendors shout prices for oysters, bread, and apples. The smell of salt water mixes with smoke, sweat, and refuse. This was a city without modern sanitation, where progress marched forward faster than public health could keep up. Move northward, and the city begins to change character. Broadway stretches like a spine through Manhattan, lined with shops, theaters, and hotels that catered to a growing middle and upper class. Gas lamps flicker to life at dusk, casting long shadows and giving the street an air of excitement and danger in equal measure. One of the city's most fashionable areas in the early 19th century was Washington Square. Once a potter's field, it transformed into an elegant residential district where merchants and professionals built townhouses facing a manicured park. Here, refinement tried to distance itself from the chaos downtown. Residents strolled beneath young elm trees, convinced they were building a civilized oasis on the edge of a restless city. Artists, writers, and thinkers gravitated to these spaces. Coffee houses buzzed with political debate and cultural ambition. Newspapers flourished, feeding a public hungry for information and scandal alike. New York was discovering its voice, and it was loud, opinionated, and unapologetically commercial. But not all growth was graceful. Just beyond these polished neighborhoods lay the tenement districts, where immigrants crowded into buildings never designed for human dignity. Entire families shared single rooms. Disease spread quickly. Fire was a constant threat. These areas powered the city's labor force, yet remained invisible to those who benefited most from their work. Along the East River, the shipyards roared with activity. Men labored from dawn until dark, constructing vessels that carried American goods across the world. The waterfront was a place of opportunity and danger, where sailors, merchants, criminals, and dreamers crossed paths daily. Taverns spilled onto the streets, and stories from distant ports flowed as freely as the rum. One of the most imposing sights in 19th century New York was City Hall. Completed in the early 1800s, It symbolized the city's growing confidence in political power. Built of marble and brownstone, it stood at the northern edge of the settled city, almost as if daring development to follow. From here, laws were written, disputes settled, and the machinery of governance struggled to keep pace with explosive growth. Markets were the lifeblood of everyday life. Fulton Market buzzed with activity from sunrise, fishermen unloading their catch while buyers inspected goods with sharp eyes and sharper bargaining skills. Food was not packaged or sanitized. It was loud, messy, and intensely human. Commerce here was personal, physical, and relentless. As the century progressed, grander visions emerged. Central Park was conceived as a radical idea, a vast green refuge carved from rocky, undeveloped land. At the time, it seemed almost absurd to reserve so much space for leisure in a city obsessed with profit. Yet, this decision would redefine urban life, offering future generations a place to breathe amid the stone and steel. The social divide remained stark. Horse-drawn carriages carried the wealthy past crowds of laborers who would never enter the homes they built. Churches and charities attempted to soften the city's rough edges, while reformers documented the conditions of the poor, forcing uncomfortable truths into public view. New York in the 1800s was never static. Fires leveled entire neighborhoods. Economic panics wiped out savings overnight. Epidemics swept through overcrowded streets. And still, the city pushed forward, rebuilding again and again with stubborn determination. By the end of the century, the outlines of the modern metropolis were unmistakable. Steel frame construction began to reach upward. Bridges stretched across rivers once crossed only by boat. Electricity replaced gaslight. The city's ambition could no longer be contained horizontally. It had to rise. What we see in the surviving images of this era is not just a city, but a mindset. A belief that reinvention was not only possible, but necessary. New York was not born great. It argued, struggled, and fought its way there. These historical snapshots are more than illustrations. They are windows into a time when the city was still deciding what it stood for, shaped by millions of individual lives moving in the same crowded space. Through them, we are reminded that every modern skyline begins as a collection of rough streets, imperfect buildings, and unfinished dreams. So as we look back on 19th century New York, we are not just observing history. We are witnessing the moment a city learned how to become itself. And in many ways, that restless spirit has never left. Thousands of engravings and paintings like these survive from cities around the world, moments frozen in time. With modern tools, we can bring them back to life and reconnect with the past in ways never before possible. So tell us, which city would you like to see revived next? Your choice could shape our next journey into history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.